OPEC is keeping oil production unchanged at their meeting in Vienna this morning. OPEC agreeing to maintain output, but still in talks over this issue. There's no word on what those other issues are at this time, but we have some indications as the president of OPEC is talking a little bit about this economy that we're in at the moment. In the meantime, rising oil demand in China is pushing oil prices above $82, but we've also seen that weaker dollar play a part in here as well. So it's not just about China as far as commodities. Doug Flynn is back with us at Flynn Zito Capital Management. There's a look at oil right now. And Doug, one of the things that OPEC's president is saying, and this is a quote crossing just at this moment, the strength of the global economic recovery in 2010 remains uncertain and uneven. So if that's the case, how do you play the commodity sector right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. They seemingly want higher prices, but
well, sure,
yeah,
right for them, that would be great.
But you know, to a point, that can also then go counter to what they want. So they always try to strike the balance. How you play it is it has to be a really important part of your overall allocation. The way we always do it is you keep your core portfolio intact, your long-term plan intact.
Sure.
But you sort of use a satellite or an explore part of the portfolio. And in there you put things like your commodities and what have you. And that can be anywhere from 10 to 25% of your portfolio. But you don't really want to make a major play into and out of oil, into and out of gold. They should be a part of your overall allocation.
And in what way? Is it through an ETF? Is it through
Sure.
directly investing in the commodity, oil producing companies? What would it be?
You can certainly use ETFs if you feel like you want to sector out to that degree. You can do that. There are ETFs that trade on all of that. But you can also look at some managers that maybe even have a little more freedom to move within the commodity space. So there are funds out there at all the major fund families that will have a fund manager that can go into different commodities. So, you know, if you're in gold and it looks like silver or copper might do better, they can hop over to that rather than just buy gold because you think that's what's going up. There might be other opportunities out there. So you can also play it in that way, but it should always be a part of your overall allocation. You
know, it's interesting just looking more at some of these comments coming out of the meeting. One of the things that's mentioned is that that growth is expected to occur in a variety of different areas, developing and emerging markets. But the president is cautioning that government measures to address overheating in emerging economies is something that these oil producers have to keep an eye on. One can only assume they're referring to places like China,
Sure.
for example, where there is that threat.
Yep.
So how fragile is this market really? What's your assessment?
Well, I think that there is still a lot of opportunity in the emerging markets. If you look at let's say a certain percentage of your portfolio should be international. Maybe in the past it was 3/4 developing and 1/4 emerging. You know, maybe now you're playing that 50-50. You're not ramping up and having emerging markets take over every part of your portfolio. It's still an important part of your portfolio. There's still a lot of room to run there if you look at what their growth is and what their output is and the increase that they're having in the world. It's an important part. So you want it to be a bigger piece of your international pie than it has been in the past. There's still room to go there.
You know, when OPEC was meeting and we had oil prices above 100, 120, reaching $140 a barrel.
Yes.
I mean, it was intense, these meetings, and any headline, anything out of OPEC seems paramount. How do you view OPEC and its decisions and its discussions? Because it seems like there's two different sides. Some people that say we have to listen to these guys. These are the oil producers of the world. At the same time, some people say, don't really pay too much attention to what they have to say.
I think it's you read the headline, and in the end, you know, they really don't control the entire world's oil output. There are always rogue nations that are going to produce if the price is high enough, and they try to do what they can, but even within their group, they can't even control the people that produce within there. So I think they have an impact, but it's probably not as big as they would like it to be.
We're the largest consumer of energy, though, in the world. Is there any sort of alternative plays that you like?
Oh, you mean in terms of from an investing standpoint?
Sure.
Well, this is another area that falls into that explore part of your portfolio. You want to have alternative energy, but it becomes more important the higher the prices get. You're not going to change people in the United States in terms of their habits until the gas prices get way out of control again. Now maybe
we're at that. I mean, we see that coming up. We see that season coming, right? That spring, summer season where those prices naturally come up. So is there a short-term play for something like that, or is that?
I don't think it's high enough yet. I don't think it's high enough to really change behavior long-term. And I have a feeling that if, just like it did last time, if the prices do get too out of control, somehow they seemingly come back down because OPEC doesn't want you to go to these alternative measures.
Right.
So I think they're important, and be ever increasing, but I don't think we're flipping a switch tomorrow and turning on to alternative energy.
Real quick, are you still concerned about a double-dip recession as we just heard out of OPEC?
I'm not so concerned in the near term. I think I'm more concerned about what's going to happen really when the Fed starts to raise interest rates. That's my big concern. How are they going to handle that? What's going to happen to the economy at that point? But in the near term, I still think you have a little bit of tailwind. I see headwinds at that point. So you have to look at your portfolio with a line at that particular point in time.
A tipping point, if you will. Okay, Doug, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ashley, back over to you now.